Okay, so let's jump right in. It all kicks off with this one single line from the Book of Esther. On that night, the king's sleep was disturbed. That's it. It almost sounds like a footnote, right? But believe me, in this one moment of insomnia, the entire course of history is about to pivot. We're not just talking about one king's bad night. We're talking about the destiny of an entire nation hanging in the balance.
So you have to ask, how? How can one restless night, a single toss and turn, completely rewrite the future? Well, that's what we're going to unpack here. We're going to deconstruct this single night piece by piece, like it's a political thriller, a psychological deep dive, and maybe even a hint of a hidden hand guiding everything from behind the curtain.
You see, the king's sleeplessness, it isn't random, not at all. It's one of those moments of profound significance, like a crack in the fabric of reality, that lets something totally new into the world. This is not just any night. And here's where it gets really interesting. Look at the timing. This all goes down on the night of the 15th of Nisan. In the Jewish calendar, that is Passover Seder night, a date that is practically hardwired for miracles, for divine intervention. So when King Ahasuerus can't get any sleep down here on earth, you could say it's an echo. It's a reflection of a kind of restlessness up in the heavens. When a higher power decides to act, well, nothing on the ground can stay still.
All right, let's try to get inside the head of King Ahasuerus for a second. He isn't just lying there bored. He is terrified. This is a ruler who probably didn't get his throne through clean means, and his number one fear, his absolute phobia, is a coup.
Every shadow flickering on the wall could be an assassin. He is in a full-blown state of paranoia. So what does a paranoid king do when he can't sleep? He's not looking for a dead-time story, no way. He does the only thing that makes sense to him. He does a late-night risk assessment. He calls out, "Bring me the Book of Chronicles," because he needs to make sure he hasn't forgotten anyone. He needs to know there isn't some loyal subject he failed to reward, whose gratitude could curdle into resentment and, a knife in the back. This is a cold, calculated political move.
So the book is brought in and opened, and right here, according to Jewish tradition, the whole story gets another layer. Because what the king's servants are reading isn't just some dusty old record book. Oh no, it's a battlefield. The Midrash tells us there's a cosmic struggle going on right over the page between two forces. One is called Shimshai, who's trying to scramble the signal to erase the important parts and make history look like just a bunch of random, meaningless accidents. But fighting against him is Gabriel, who works to make sure the record is kept straight, because he knows every single event is part of a much, much bigger script.
And then it happens. Out of this massive, sprawling book of records, what do the servants read? They just happen to land on the one perfect entry, the long-forgotten story of how Mordecai the Jew saved the king's life. And check this out. There's a tiny, almost secret clue hidden in the original Hebrew text. The name of one of the plotters, Bigthon, is written with an extra letter, an aleph, which is often a symbol for the divine. The ancient sages saw this as a little signature, a divine author's note, as if the text itself is winking at us and saying, hey, pay attention. A human plot is on the page, but a divine plan is already in motion.
So the king hears this, and it clicks. A huge debt went unpaid. A loyal man was ignored. But now you have to listen very, very closely to the words he uses next, because his next question isn't just a question. It's a trap, a beautifully crafted, subtle trap, designed specifically for his arrogant advisor, Haman. And this is just genius. When the king first asks his own staff about Mordecai, he uses two very specific Hebrew words. What Yakar Hugedula was given to him. Now, Yakar is temporary honor, like a parade or a medal. But Gedula, that's permanent greatness, a promotion, a lasting rise in status. Then Haman walks in. And what does the king ask him? What should be done for the man the king wishes to honor, Yakar? See that? He only uses the word for temporary honor. He deliberately leaves out Gedula. But Haman, who is so blinded by his own ego, completely misses this critical, crucial omission. And the timing, the timing is just perfect. It's almost supernatural. At the exact millisecond the king is wondering how to repay Mordecai, who strolls into the court? Haman. And why is he there so early? He's come to get the king's permission to hang Mordecai on the brand new gallows he just built. He walks in at the absolute peak of his power and arrogance, with no earthly idea that he is marching straight into a perfectly laid trap, and the greatest reversal of his entire life.
So the king pops the question. And of course, Haman is 100% certain the king is talking about him.
And the fantasy he spins in response, well, it tells you everything you need to know about his ultimate ambition.
He doesn't ask for gold. He doesn't ask for land. What does he ask for? The most personal, intimate symbols of the king himself. The actual clothes the king wears, the actual horse the king rides, and the royal crown. I mean, this isn't just a request for honor. This is basically a dress rehearsal for his own coronation. He is saying, I see myself as the next king.
Haman finishes his grand speech. The king just listens. You can imagine the silence in the room. And then comes the line that the entire night has been building towards. The king's next sentence is an absolute earthquake. He says, "Make haste, take the apparel and the horse, as you have said, and do so to Mordecai the Jew." Boom! You can almost hear the sound of Haman's world shattering into a million pieces.
This right here, this is the moment of vinachafochu, which literally means it was turned upside down, the great reversal. Every single thing he just fantasized about, every symbol of power he craved for himself, he now has to personally deliver with his own two hands to the man he despises most in the world. This isn't just public humiliation, it's a cosmic takedown. The reversal is absolute and complete.
And what happens immediately after this forced parade is just a perfect mirror image. It shows us everything about the difference between these two men and their ultimate fates.
Haman, who was flying high just minutes ago, begins a free fall straight into the abyss. He literally runs home, broken, covering his head in shame. But what does Mordecai do? The text says, "And Mordecai returned to the king's gate." He just goes back to work. He's totally unfazed. This sudden, temporary honor doesn't inflate his ego or change who he is, and that one little detail captures the whole story in a nutshell. The difference between true, quiet, internal greatness and hollow, loud, external arrogance.
When Haman gets home, crushed and humiliated, even his own inner circle, his wife and his advisors, they know the game is up. They tell him, if Mordecai is of Jewish descent, you're not going to win. They recognize this is something deeper. This isn't just politics anymore. And then comes the chilling final prophecy, but you will surely fall before him. That repetition in the Hebrew, surely fall, it implies a total, complete, unrecoverable collapse, a crash from which there is no coming back.
So what does this unbelievable story of one night really teach us? Maybe it's that behind all the things that look like random chance, that look like chaos, a king who can't sleep, a servant who flips to just the right page, an enemy showing up at the worst possible moment, maybe behind all of it, there's a hidden script, a bigger plan unfolding. And this story is just a timeless reminder to wonder if maybe, just maybe, in our own lives, history is being quietly rewritten for our benefit, right under our noses without us even noticing.